Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore Positive. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. On Friday, we're going to be at Costas giving away the Magic 8-Ball remnants, and we're going to get the Back to the Futures ready to go. Back to the Future was, I think it was those old Diamondbacks running around the warning track in the fifth inning of the game. A late nighter on Tuesday. The Orioles will play again this afternoon. Luke and I doing short radio here today. And look, you can go back and fill in the pieces of everything on Zach Eflin and the MRI and the fact that we had it on our website and the Orioles had it before the game that I talked to him, he feels better. And then at 1:59 in the morning, things aren't better with him. And just a weird loss, a weird seventh inning, awful umpiring, great comedy by Ben McDonald in the broadcast. At least I thought, if you're going to keep me up late and we're going to have a half an hour stoppage of play in the seventh inning reviewing whatever the hell they were reviewing, when he caught the ball and nobody made a call. I don't know, Luke. I'm going to quote Ben McDonald. Put a tent over this circus.
Yeah, no question about it. But amounts to another loss for the Orioles, and I kind of go back to the first inning. They score a couple runs. They had a chance for more. Tyler O'Neill grounds into a double play, and look, that happens. But their offense went away after that, and it was kind of the same deal that we've seen where they put together a good offensive performance on Monday night, although it wasn't, they didn't hang a 10 spot on the board, but it was good enough. And on Tuesday, it wasn't. And Charlie Morton wasn't very good again. And more specifically, threw an awful 1-2 pitch to Josh Naylor for a 2-run double when he was ahead and had a chance to get out of the inning and still had a chance at that point to finish the night with a solid outing and didn't do it. So Charlie Morton struggles again. The offense struggles again. And they fail to lose, or they fail to win 2 in a row once again. So they'll have a chance to still win their first series this afternoon. But all of that, though, kind of overshadowed by the post-game news that Zach Eflin dealing with, as Brandon Hyde called it, a low-grade lat strain. He, of course, is going to go on the IL. They're hoping that it's not going to be a very long shutdown. I think they said they'll see how he's feeling in about a week, and they're hoping maybe he can start throwing again there, and maybe he's only misses a few weeks here. But lat strains are tricky. I mean, we've seen this.
Maybe he only misses a few weeks
that's me.
here.
Oh, that's
right?
me.
Like, so I was about
That's not
to
Brandon
say
Hyde saying that. That's me.
restarts.
That's
Yeah, you know what I'm
I
saying?
don't
If you're
know.
going to shut
I
him
don't
down
know.
a week, well, I'm just trying to do the math on how many starts he's going to miss. I'm assuming this second it's 3. He's certainly going to miss the first one and the second one.
Well, he's going to go on the IL, so that's 15 days right there. I mean,
Okay.
you're not going to play short. I mean, they could, because they do have off days, 2 off days here in the next week. They could go till the 19th before needing a fifth starter, but I don't really, where's the prudence and caution in that, knowing that you want to keep your other guys healthy, right? And pitchers can benefit from extra days. So I'm guessing we're going to end up seeing Brandon Young, I think, because Kyle Gibson's not going to be quite ready yet, although they could certainly expedite that because Gibson's supposed to pitch at Norfolk later this week. So maybe we see Kyle Gibson much sooner rather than later, and maybe they expedite that a little bit. But to me, the top option, other than Gibson being ready to go, would be Brandon Young, who was their minor league pitcher of the year. He's not, not regarded in the same way that Grayson Rodriguez or DL Hall were regarded a couple years ago in terms of what their pitching prospects or being on the top 100 list around baseball. But you'll find people that like his stuff and are intrigued by what he could be. But at the same time, they didn't give him an extensive look in the Grapefruit League. So I don't know what that tells you. I don't know if they say, okay, you're not ready yet, or they just didn't want to expose him too much because they knew he might be one of their, if not the next man up, one of the earliest men up, if you were dealing with some injuries. So it's not great. I mean, again, even if it's the lowest grade lat strain, those are tricky. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez, of course, had a higher grade lat strain when he's dealt with that the 2 times that he has in the last 4 seasons. But it's still tricky. I mean, it's what Luis Heel is dealing with for the Yankees, where again that's a higher grade, but he's going to be out into the summer, or is the expectation there? That was a high grade lat strain. So you hope the fact that Zach Eflin was feeling better at the morning after, when he was going to get his MRI, and you're hoping that that's a sign that yes, it is very minor. He didn't have this moment during the game where you saw that he was in sharp pain or anything like that. So you hope it's as minor as it can be, but it's not good. I mean, he's the one pitcher they have who's thrown quality starts to this point, for a rotation that's, kind of ranking bottom five in baseball in starter ERA. I think they're 25th going into today's afternoon game. So I don't know. I mean, we can keep talking about Charlie Morton or,
Well, let's
oh,
talk about Charlie Morton for a second because I just, in a general sense, they get shot out of a cannon, they score some runs, right? They leave some ducks on the pond, and then Charlie Morton comes in, and he's hitting guys, throwing wild pitch, like all this stuff happens. And I looked up, he was 3-0 on the third batter, and two guys were on, and I
mhm.
had a snapshot of that, and I thought, dude, it's the first inning. You got a 2-run lead, right? Like, there's all of this. By the way, we'll talk about Mullins too. We got to talk because we're Baltimore positive, and I'm trying to get my press credential back. So, but then it's bases loaded, and really, it was an escape in the first inning for
Mhm.
him, right? I
Could have been
mean,
way
that
worse.
thing could have really piled up when you're talking about nobody out, bases loaded, and they wind up escaping that. So I don't know the Charlie Morton thing, and I know I felt maybe I was a little rough on him back on Sunday, through the weekend, and just talking about like how something's got to be better, and the something's today. It's not Zach Eflin. I mean, we didn't even have that going on back in Sunday. I mean, the last 48 hours, this thing's unraveled even worse. I mean, you and I got together with Shining, what, 3 weeks ago, Pizza John's? You still probably get leftovers because I sent you out there with all that. And we were worried about the pitching. And then last week, we got together with Viviano, remember? First time through the rotation, and we're playing that this week. We were worried about the rotation, and that's with Eflin in it. That's with thinking Morton could at least pitch to an ERA sub 9. Um,
Hmm.
so I just don't know where the cavalry's coming, and I don't trust Dean Kramer. I say this out loud all the time, and I just don't. And
No,
I
I just laugh because he's one of the surest things you have at this point in time. And look, I'm not saying he's very good, but he's at least shown
when
to be
I
a league
say I don't
average.
trust him, I'm not thinking he's going to emerge. That's
Right.
all I'm
And that's
saying.
fine. No, no,
He's a number
I'm not
three
even,
starter who's going to have to
I'm
be
not
a number
necessarily
one starter.
disagreeing.
And, listen, is to do anything else, let's bitch more about the pitching so I can keep your press credential and lose mine, and then I'll come back and praise some of the hitting because I do want to praise Ryan O'Hearn. I do want to talk about Jackson. I mean, I got these other notes. The umpiring was such a circuit. Do you have
It was
anything on
awful.
that? Because that's in conjunction with the pitching because they missed all sorts of calls, including Tyler O'Neill struck out.
Right. I mean, like, and I'm glad you at least pointed that out because I don't want this to sound like it's making an excuse for the Orioles because it wasn't. They lost the game. They deserved to lose the game. But yeah, that seventh inning, just the just the administration of that, where a call isn't made. Mullins does the right thing and tags up and scores, but in defense of Tyler O'Neill, who did not make the right play, there still wasn't a call made to say, "Hey, he's out. You need to go tag up." I mean, it was just, and not just that, but it takes 10 minutes to sort it out. Then,
Dude, it was an
where
unbelievable work stoppage. It
where
really
really,
was.
when you look at that, beyond recognizing an umpire doesn't make an out call there, you can watch that replay once and come to the conclusion that they ultimately came to. So it's like, why did this take 10 minutes then?
Well,
It's
especially
what
when
I,
it's going on midnight.
yeah, yeah. Well, they don't care so much about that. They're on West Coast time, I
Well, we
believe.
do.
But
Everybody in our
oh,
audience, it was going on midnight. I mean, it just
but the
was. It was
umpire,
like,
but the
what are you
umpire, my
doing?
my point on that is the umpires don't care about that in the moment. It's just, why is this taking 10 minutes? Period.
Major League Baseball should care about how the
I
adjudication
know,
of
but
that. Yeah.
okay, but in the moment, they're not saying, "Oh, well, those fans in Baltimore are losing sleep right now." That's not
In
what
the
they're.
moment, get the call right in 2 minutes, or
Right, that's my
or
point.
don't be professionals.
Exactly. I don't know what they're even looking
People
at
are
at this
gambling
point.
on this. I
But
want to keep pointing that out.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, it's a lot to be frustrated about right now. And, for as much as you can look at positives, like one major positive that I take away from that game, that Jackson Holiday played some really good defense. I mean, really good for as much as we talked last year about, second base is his new position. And even a couple weeks ago, can he even fill in at shortstop? And that's not to say that I didn't expect him to be a good defensive player, but there was an example where you saw it. I mean, he made a that back pick play at first base. He made a really good instinctive kind of play there for a 21-year-old rookie, basically a rookie still. So that was good to see. It's not like they don't have positive things happening, but at the same time, there's just you know the the contact play with the play at the plate after Mateo steals two bases. Even though, look, they still didn't get a hit there, right? I mean, it's a comebacker. Mateo at least stayed in the rundown long enough for Mountcastle to get into scoring position. I think it was Mountcastle, right? But then Westberg strikes out, so they didn't score anyway. But when you see those things, it's just frustrating. I mean, they run the contact play with a guy at third a lot. It does work out sometimes. I do understand and follow why they do it as frequently as they do, but when it doesn't work out, boy, it's really frustrating when you're not scoring runs. And but at the same time, they still had a runner in scoring position right after that, and they didn't score. So it's just, it's what I've said for a while. I say for a while. I mean, going back to last year, the second half of the season. I mean, their offense just it's got to find that level of consistency we saw in the first half of last season, or this team's not going to go anywhere whatsoever, and they're not going to survive and tread the waters of these pitching injuries. Even if you're going to be optimistic and say, well, yes, Eflin will be back, and Grayson Rodriguez will be back, and who knows, Kyle Bradish might be back come August, right? So even if you want to be positive about those things, and there's a lot of unknown there, not again, I'm just spewing hypotheticals when I say that, you still need to tread water to the point where you're still in it at that point in time. But that's, to me, as much as we are going to hand wring about Morton, and understandably so, he's making $15 million, or whether he's 41 years old or not, and have questions about, like you said, Dean Kramer, who is what he is at this point in time, right? I mean, he's been a league average starter for the better part of 3 years, but are you really at thinking he's going to step up? I'm in agreement with you. Very likely, very unlikely that that's going to happen. He kind of is what he is at this point, which is still better than some of what they have, right? And that's the
Well, he better
problem.
go to the
But
Hill this afternoon and get them out of the desert
they
with the
better score some
series win.
runs. They got to
Yeah.
score some runs. I mean, at some point in time, this is what it is. We called this a bottom heavy starting rotation before the season even started. You have a bunch of 4 and 5 starters at best. It might be a compliment to call some of these guys maybe a four,
I don't know
right?
if Charlie Morton's a big league pitcher. I
Charlie
mean,
Morton, he might
we'll
not
find
be,
out.
but there's no
We went through this with
alternative.
Craig Kimbrell last year. I just don't know what point.
Well, in fairness, Craig Kimbrell at least had stretches in the first half of the season where he was very good at times, right? I mean, he had his late May or late April into the second week of May where he scuffled, but other than that 2.5 week period, he actually pitched pretty well for some stretches. Charlie Morton's not doing that much, right? I mean, for as much as I was kind of sticking up for him a little bit with his strikeouts and missing bats to the degree that he did against Boston, we didn't see nearly as much of that. No, he walked 5 guys and hit a batter. So suddenly then you're talking about the command being way more of an issue. So, but it still comes back to their offense right now, while it's not whole without Colton Cowser, and that has complicated their outfield defense a little bit to the degree that, yeah, they decided to start Jorge Mateo in center field on Sunday. And we saw Ryan O'Hearn in right field on Monday. They're going to have to do a little bit of that stuff because we've talked about Tyler O'Neill's injury history. If you're going to just trot him out there every single day, he's not going to last either, right? He'll get hurt because that's his history. So they're already in that kind of a position with their outfield defense without Cowser and having some less than ideal matchups at times. But that said, the rest of their offense is intact. That for the most part, they have their all stars out there. I mean, Cowser was maybe going to become an all star this year. Who knows? But they have Gunner back and Adley Rutschman and Jordan Westberg, right? It's so I mean, those guys need to hit. 1 through 9, they need more consistency. One
There's a
through
lot of
nine.
swing and miss, and I worry about double plays. That just two things out loud that really crush offenses and will crush them. And um, late in the game, not scoring runs too. Not, you know what I mean? This was like an explosive offense 2 years ago, post fifth inning, big
Yeah,
home runs, late home runs, clutch home run. That we're early into this, but all of that pageantry of 2 years ago of walk-offs and
yeah,
late innings and like all of that drama goes away when you're swinging and missing from the seventh inning on
yeah. And look, let's be
and
clear. I mean, hey,
pressing whatever that thing would pressing would be.
I don't know if strikeouts specifically are a major issue for them when you just look at what the context of the league is. I mean, they struck out 6 times on Tuesday night. That's not a particularly high number. But you mentioned the double plays. They've got a pretty athletic starting lineup, relative to a lot of teams. Now, it's not. I'm not saying it's the Cardinals of the '80s, but
Well,
they certainly
Mullins,
have some guys who
Henderson,
can
these guys
run.
get on.
And
They're on
even
second base a lot.
but even someone like Mountcastle who isn't going to steal bases, he still runs well for someone his size. I mean, we've seen that before. So I don't know if it's so much that, but you did make the point that I think's very interesting, and I agree with it. You do think about how they profiled a couple years ago with all the come from behind wins. I mean, we saw last year that they didn't do that at nearly the same level. And look, is there a sustainability with come from behind wins necessarily year to year? Is that something that's consistent? It's the old, sabermetric debate. Does clutch hitting really exist over the long haul? Are there truly individuals that are truly better in those high leverage situations than they are any other time? And you'll find that the data kind of doesn't really check out that there are many guys that really are like that over the long haul. Eddie Murray is like an
What the long
exception,
haul is hitting with runners in scoring
but you got to
position
do
with
it.
two outs, right? Like you either do that or you don't.
But really, it comes down to it. Just are you a good offense or not? And what we're seeing right now is it's a very feast or famine offense where okay, the averages, the numbers in their totality don't look too bad because they've hung some 10, 11, 12 spots on the scoreboard on given nights. But what about the other nights where they're scoring one or two? I mean, even Tuesday night's game, and look, Charlie Morton, I'm not going to sit here and say that he pitched well, but they gave up 4 runs. I mean, that's not a horrendous pitching performance from a team standpoint. It's not anything to hang your hat on, but it's certainly a winnable game if you have a decent offensive performance. And well, they scored 3 runs, right? I mean, their bats went silent after the first inning largely. So that has to lead the way. You and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, that has to lead the way. That's how they were built. Those are all the players they drafted. Not everyone in their lineup, of
Well, you
course, but
started on this back in the late spring of last year. They have to hit
yeah,
the ball. They didn't hit the ball the second half of the year. Rutschman was a part of that.
yeah.
Kowser's on off, right? I mean, a
Westberg was
lot of these
hurt.
guys are on off, right? Westberg got hurt. Mullins wasn't right. I mean, it just in a general sense last year, Kerstedt, they couldn't keep him right. Um, I, I, I am confident that the offense will figure it out. I don't think the pitching can. And I
Yeah.
think that that's really where you rip the band-aid off of all this is that like after all of this and the bad news on Eflin this morning, Dean Kramer goes out and you're pitching for a series. You got a day off. Everybody's getting rested and coming home. It's going to rain here this weekend. You don't have your number one for the next couple turns through. Um, there's no good news on Grayson
Yeah.
Rodriguez. And if you're waiting on Kyle Gibson to be the cavalry, I mean, God, right? I mean, how much better is it going to look than Charlie Morton? Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. I'm not going to sit here and think that
I've
Kyle
watched a lot of
Gibson's going to.
baseball, dude. I mean, these guys that nobody else wants that are 38 that are good clubhouse guys. I mean, I love me a good clubhouse guy. I love Ben McDonald, but he can't pitch anymore.
Yeah.
So, that's just where we anything you want to say on Mullins? I'm just laughing because I keep thinking of Gurriel throwing that baseball to the backstop, and
Yeah.
I'm like, if you haven't seen anything about it, you don't want to watch the 12-minute delay while they were trying to adjudicate the thing with the goofy first base umpire, who's the crew chief, who went after. Torey Lovello after completely getting the call wrong and throwing the manager out. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was a circus as called by Ben McDonald on Tuesday night. But Mullins is something that like there goes your reclamation project. I mean, he's tearing the cover off the ball. It's early April. He's capable. We know all the five tools and all that. And, you know, you write him off and he writes himself back in.
It's been good to see. And look, I mean, it's not as though Cedric Mullins hasn't had good stretches the last couple of years. It's just it's been up and down, right? And a couple years ago, I mean, he had the injuries, and that was unfortunate for them at
But
the
we were
time. And
always questioning his role and his place on the roster and wondering. I mean, dude, I think it'd be long odds this time last year if you would have said on April 9th of this year, you'd be on this team and contributing.
mm,
And,
I don't
you
know
know,
if
I'm
I'd
just
agree
saying.
with that. I don't know
Okay.
if I'd agree because I mean, at that point, uh, a year ago at this time, Colton Cowser was starting to emerge, and Austin Hayes was hurt and on the IL, and we were kind of seeing how that. And keep in mind, Hayes was in a contract year as well. I mean, a year ago at this time, that would have been saying, okay, I think all three of their outfielders are going to be gone next year. So that's where I would just push back on that a little bit. But hey, it's been good to see. It's good for him. He's in a contract year. I mean, not that I'm sitting here saying that the Orioles will or will not re-sign him, but it's good for him either way that he's off to this
He
kind of
might be the
start.
most likable Oriole of the whole generation. Like for me, I
Um,
mean,
he's
I,
up there. I
just
mean, he's
me.
up there.
Just
You know,
a guy you
Mancini's
really
kind of a
cheer
tough.
for.
Mancini was kind of the,
I'm talking about the
if
guys on the team right now that I
okay.
cheer
Oh, but
for
you
or
said
look
this
at.
generation.
I mean, I love Westbrook because he wears number 11, Natch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to compete with Rutschman and Gunnar just because they were the two guys that were the headliners as far as this team really not just turning the corner in Rutschman's case, but in Henderson's case, them becoming a playoff team. But yeah, I think Mullins, there's very much a sentimental feel considering he was the one who succeeded Adam Jones in center field. We all remember how bad he was in 19 to the point where he was all the way back in double A. That's how bad things had gotten for Cedric Mullins 6 years ago at this point. It's hard to believe that it was 6 years ago, but 6 years ago at this point, and yet we see what he's become. He's an all-star back in 21. He's been an above average player. He's, no longer a young player by any stretch of the imagination, but is still a good player. And for as much as we're talking about their offense right now and waiting for guys to, not that they have a ton of guys that aren't performing individually, but as a group, they're not getting enough of, hey, so and so, this guy and that guy all swung the bats really well in
Got to
one
put some
night.
crooked numbers up, Luke.
Yeah,
Got to put some crooked
exactly.
numbers up.
Exactly. So it's not okay. I get it. Gunner's hitting 143. Gunner's played 5 games so far. I mean, we're still talking about a small sample size, but Mullins has been right in the middle of so much of it. I mean, he already has 14 RBIs, so
Where
good
would
for.
they be without him? I guess a week into this. That's all.
Yeah, they'd probably be.
We don't have
They'd
a lot of good news going
be
on
three
here.
and
We don't
they'd
have a
be
lot
three
of
and nine or
praise to give
four and
out.
eight.
Let you want to praise Brian Baker on the way out. I'm trying to get my press credential back.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you at least said that. I mean, once again, their bullpen is performing. Their bullpen has been good. CNL Perez has been a disaster, but other than that, their bullpen has pitched quite well. So. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last when your starters can. I mean, in all seriousness,
Well,
when your
you're right.
starters,
I'm laughing because it's true.
because you only have so many guys in that bullpen that you can option. So that's where you look at this, and you made mention that there's rain in the forecast, and yeah, they'll have an off day Thursday, so that helps. But if you start having a doubleheader here or there, and you kind of get into a longer stretch without off days, I mean they don't have many guys you can option just to get a fresh arm in the bullpen. So that's where you just look at this thing. That's why, to me, again, you go back to losing Suarez.
We're supposed to get 2 inches of rain on Friday and Saturday. Like Saturday, they'll get the game and it's Sunday, but Friday, it does not look good.
doesn't look great.
It doesn't look good at all. I'm just
But who
saying
knows?
that
We know this
then they
area.
would have a couple of days down. They would come back and have to figure out doubleheader Saturday, Sunday, whatever it would be. But that is in the mix here, which is all the more reason they got to get out of Arizona with a
Got to
win
get a
and
win.
not be 3 under coming home.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to it. We talk about this all the time, even when teams are going well. You've got to compartmentalize. You can't be sitting there dwelling on what the state of your current rotation is. You just have to go out there and say, got a chance to win today. And if we score more runs than the other team, we'll win. And if we win today, we'll get a series and we'll have our first series. Now, we haven't won two in a row yet, but again, you can't carry all of that baggage onto the field because then it does pile up and then you do start having that effect where that woe is me kind of mindset that you have to avoid. I mean, it's April 9th, right? I mean, the season's not over as much as things feel so bad with their rotation, and it's bad. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. They're also in a position where the rest of this division, the Yankees, for as much as they look like the 27 Yankees the first 5 games of the series, they're not. Go look at their starter ERA. They're not pitching very well. So and you know they're not running away with it. So this division is all right now hovering around a game or two above or below 500. So that's fine. They've got to figure out a way to. I don't think I can say they're going to thrive anytime soon with the state of their starting rotation, but they've got to figure out a way to tread water at the very least, and that's going to be their offense. It has to be their offense. If it's not, then yeah, they are going to find themselves in a hole, and they are going to be in a position where we might be looking at the division, the wild card race, all of that, and saying, "Wow, are they going to be able to get off the mat?"
Well, I found some comedy in Ben McDonald's commentary as well as the throw of Gurriel. It's been a crazy, crazy week around here. I want to send some love out to everybody in our Planet Fitness family and the Brick Bodies family on the loss of Vicky Brick on Tuesday night. I'm still shaken by it. If you're watching out on social media, I'll be sharing some thoughts on that as well. We've got Oriole baseball in the afternoon. We're going to be doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour on Friday at Costas in Dundalk. We will have the Magic 8-Ball scratch-offs to give away, the handful that I have left. Next week, Beaumont. On the 23rd, we're going to be at Cooper's North in Timonium, Mays Chapel. And then on the 30th, we're going to be at Coco's Pub in Lauraville. I am putting guests together. I have some space for Dundalk on Friday. Come on out to honor Mr. Costas as well. It might be raining on Friday at Costas. The crabs will still be delicious and the crab cakes. I'm also putting together for our 27th anniversary my 27 favorite things to eat around the city. So that's been kind of a fun little list of things I'm doing here in the spring as we get up on a weekend of home cooking for the Orioles. Blue Jays in town this weekend. I don't think Getty's coming to town, but that's okay. I am Nestor. He is Luke. We are talking about all sorts of things in all sorts of ways. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.